2020 hit pageants hard. And whilst everyone else is talking about how to walk, how to talk, and how to dress, no one's answering the real questions like, what should I do when I've lost all motivation? How can I regain my confidence? How do I pick myself up after a soul-destroying pageant experience? Or should I even be doing pageants in the first place, especially after 2020? It's time to make sure your inner game is as strong as your outer game. It's time to make sure you're aligned so that you're pulled towards your goals rather than being pulled apart. It's time to put that imposter syndrome to rest once and for all. I'm your host, Adrian Kwan, and welcome to the Pageant Boss Podcast. I can't give you confidence as much as I'd like to. I just had a young lady booking for me for a session, and her mum wanted her to have a session with me, and what the mum said and what the daughter said are slightly different. But put it in a nutshell, or nutcase in my case, confidence. You want to be more confident, particularly in interview seems to be the big one. Sometimes on the runway as well, but interview comes up a lot. Now, as much as I'd like to give you confidence or have you feeling confident all the time, I think there's a delusion that the way you feel, right, you have no control over. So sometimes, for example, today it's really sunny here in Sydney, so you wake up and you're feeling pretty good, right? And you just go, well, that makes sense. Then other days, let's say you have things happening to you. Let's say the weather is not so nice, you haven't had enough sleep, maybe you haven't been eating so well, and you wake up and you feel kind of not so great, right? You might feel like crap. And you also go, well, that also makes sense. But that's where the delusion is. The outside circumstances do not dictate how you feel. Now, that's going to be my grandfather clock in the background. Of course, that just happens to go off now when it's midday, so you're going to get hold of we'll just keep going, right? Now, don't get me wrong. If the weather outside is always miserable, always cold, always damp, like it is in the UK, it does play on your mind. It does have an effect. But you actually get, and I'm glad I'm standing up for this episode, you get to control whatever emotion or state you feel right now. And this comes not from me just saying it. This comes from a branch of psychology. And I think I mentioned it before in previous podcast episodes, called neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro as in brain, linguistic as in languages, and programming like the computer programming. NLP for short. And what they found out was that you can dictate the state that you're in. So let's say you want confidence. You can create confidence in your body right now, genuine confidence. I'm not saying put on a brave smile and then hope that you're going to be confident, or positive thinking where you go to your garden and you say there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, and there's weeds there. You get to dictate genuinely, you get to create the state of confidence. And this was my latest session that I had with Demi Jamal, and she won't mind me saying this because she gave me the testimonial, which I put up on my Instagram, where the way I helped her access her confidence, once I showed her how to create the confidence, I gave her a shortcut, which was to give her confident self, which, by the way, she already knew how to do on stage, right? On stage, she was super confident. Hers was kind of the other way round to the young girl who just booked in. Demi was super confident on stage. That's where she was on fire. And when she would come off stage, that's where she battled with some things. And I said, well, I don't need to teach you how to be confident then. You already know. And all I got her to do was give her confident on-stage persona, a silly name. I won't divulge what the name is. And you could just tell as soon as she gave her persona that name, every time I would say that name, it would create a complete radical change in her state straight away. So I knew we'd nailed it, and hopefully she's going really well. So Demi, if you're listening to this, I hope you're conditioning that name into your nervous system. But here's what I can't give you everything I gave Demi, and even if I wanted to, without knowing your personal context, it's just me babbling on for no good reason. So what I will say is, if you want to create the state of confidence right now, there are 3 prongs to it. There are 3 ways you do it. We call them the triad. And you only really need to remember one, because if you get one of them right, the other 2 are going to fall into place. So I'll give you them three quickly. The first one is physiology. The second one is focus. And the third one is language. Physiology, being the way you use your physical body, the way you breathe, where your shoulders are, the way your head's up or down, where you're looking. Okay, pattern of focus, what are you focusing on and what does that mean? Because we can focus on the same thing, and to one person that means great, to another person that means death. And then language, the patterns of language that you use, the words that you use, how you identify, and very importantly, how you speak to yourself in your head as well. Now, I went into all three in the session I had with Demi, but all I need you to do is focus on number one, which is the physiology. So let's say, and I'm going to do this with you. So if you're listening to this, if you're listening on the podcast on this episode, this might be a good one for you to watch on the YouTube so you can just see what I'm doing. And again, I'm really grateful that I'm standing up for this. I'm not in my car because I always do my lives, I think without exception, standing up, because that is a physiology. When you want to feel energized and not feel falling asleep, it's a lot harder to fall asleep when you're standing up, right? Especially when you're standing up and you got your shoulders back and you're having to look at a camera. So you're looking up and you're using your hands and you're gesturing. It's a lot easier to feel awake and confident and engaged than when you're sitting down, slumped at your desk, and a lot of us have bad posture to begin with. But if you have a laptop in particular, laptops are great. I've got one. You take it around, it's mobile. But because of the way they're made, with the screen and the keyboard pretty much at the same level, if the keyboard's at the right level for your hands, your head will always be down. And I'm turning sideways here so you can see, if your head's down all the time and your shoulders come forward, you don't breathe. And when you're not breathing, it's very hard to be confident and awake, which is why a lot of people, when they sit down, they begin to fall asleep. It's not because they're tired, and it's not because they need a coffee. It's because they're not breathing because their physiology is slumped over. And that's a big problem with laptops. So if you then move the screen up to where it's right for your face, then you have to do a T-Rex thing and your hands are too high, and then you get all sorts of problems in your back, which is why, A, I have a stand-up desk, and B, if you do have a laptop, I would strongly recommend that you get a separate screen so that you can have your screen at the right height for your eyes and the keyboard at the right height for your hands, okay? But physiology, so how you use your body. I'm standing up. Now, I'll give you the example of Demi because this will make the whole process a lot quicker for you to understand. Now, Demi told me in our session that when she was on stage, she felt unstoppable. I think I got her to give a score from 1 to 10, where 1 was, you're dead, basically, don't even try, and 10 is you're on fire, unstoppable. And this was before our session, mind you. I'd never coached her before. And I asked her, how did you feel on stage? And she said, thought about it, and then 8 or 9 out of 10. Okay, this is before I told her anything about physiology or state or anything like that. She immediately said 8 or 9 out of 10. So I said, okay, let me ask you this question. When you're on stage, do you walk a certain way? Do you stand a certain way? Are your shoulders a certain way? Are you breathing a certain way, right? Are you looking is your focus up? Is your focus down? Are your shoulders rounded and down, or are they back and proud? And when you walk, is there a certain strut and a certain grace to it, or are you kind of scurrying around like a headless chicken? Now, you know the answers to that, right? Because you guys are pageant girls, or you're parent of a pageant girl, or let's say you're a pageant fan. You know very well that when a girl walks on stage, at least one that is confident, even though you don't know she was confident 5 minutes before she walked on stage, but when there's a woman or a young girl on stage who is owning that stage, you can tell. How do you tell? Has she told you that she's confident? No. You read her physiology because we are all practical psychologists. It's just programmed into our brain. You can tell when someone is confident. You can tell when someone is angry. You can tell when someone is depressed, right? It's just bred into you. It's part of your biology. So when you see a woman owning the stage, it's because you can read her physiology. But here's the thing. The physiology creates the confidence. Her physiology, the way she is using her physical body at that moment, is creating the confidence. Most people have it backwards. They think because she's confident, she walks like that. And there is a little bit of a, what we call a cybernetic loop where it's self-reinforcing. But if I told you, okay, that girl, same girl, then goes off stage and she goes and sits down, takes her heels off and slumps over because everything hurts. Do you think at that point she's emanating the same level of confidence, right? If you saw her slouched over on the couch afterwards, would you look at her and go, oh my God, that woman is so confident? No, you wouldn't. Something has immediately changed. And it's the way that they use their physical body, the way you use your physical body, which once again we call physiology. Now, when it comes to controlling your state, I'm going to say physiology is probably like 80% of the game. Because let's say if you are feeling tired or depressed and you're sitting down at your desk or you're slouched over on your couch, if the only thing I got you to do was every time you told me you're depressed, just stand up. And you go, what? And I go, just stand up, okay? Humour me, stand up. And you stand up. Okay, put your shoulders back. Breathe fully. Put your head up, okay? And let's say put a giant wacky smile on your face, as stupid as it seems, and just do that for 2 minutes, right? Let's say put your hands on your hips and pretend you got a cape flowing out your back like a superhero. Do you think in 2 minutes of doing that, you might find it slightly hard to be as depressed as you were when you were slouched over on the couch thinking about how horrible life was? Now, before you go to answer that, because I believe you know the answer to that, there was a study done, I can't remember where it was, I believe it was at Harvard, and it was a feature of a TED Talk, one that blew up virally. They showed that someone adopting just what they called a power pose, right? Hands on hips or strutting on a catwalk, right? For 2 minutes, it created an increase, I believe it was in testosterone, like 50 or 80%. Now, I know you're probably not a man listening to this, but testosterone, women and men have it, right? What I'm saying is that the hormones that you would generally associate with confidence, right, and competing at a high level, they were increased massively in just 2 minutes of adopting this silly power pose, which, you know, could be hands on hips. You could tend to be Wonder Woman or Superman, whichever way you want to go. For many, what they call alpha males, it's about how much space you take up. So you can do it when you're sitting down as well. Because you'll see some men in particular, when they sit down, they take up 3 chairs, right? Their arms are all out, their legs are spread out. And doing that pose produces the same sort of raise in testosterone level versus when you've got your legs crossed over and you're hunched over and all that sort of thing. So if you want to feel, let's bring this home. Let's make this short, sharp, and I want you to go and do it so you know I'm not crazy and this actually works. If you want to feel confidence, do confidence. Walk like you would if you're confident. Put your chest back, right? Your chest back. Put your chest out, have your shoulders back. Breathe deep into you, not shallow into your chest, right? If you What is that? Like if someone's, I mean, you go like sounds like a dog if you're listening on the podcast, but if you see someone like that, that's a panic attack, right? Because they're breathing, yes, but they're breathing short and shallow. Whereas if you can breathe deep into your diaphragm, your head's back, your focus is up, right? Your shoulders are back, your chest is out, and you are strutting, you are in control, you're not rushed, you are immediately going to feel confidence, right? At least in the short term. Now, there are ways, as I worked on with Demi, to bring that back straight away when you need it. And also there are other ways to condition it so that you don't have to, you know, do a power pose for 2 minutes every time you want to feel confident. Although I would say that's still a better solution than going somewhere and not feeling confident, right? Just take 2 minutes. 2 minutes, go into the bathroom before your big interview or whatever it is, and just put on a giant smile and strut and do your power pose for 2 minutes. You don't even need to make any sound. I mean, you can if you want to. That's up to you. So you do confidence. It's all you have to do. Now, there's a different way, let's say if you need confidence in an interview, because there is a way that so I've given you how would you be confident if you were standing or walking. And you go, that's great, but my interview, Adrian, is when I'm sitting down. Well, imagine the most confident version of yourself or the most confident person you know. How would they sit at an interview? Now, generally, I wouldn't say that you do this in a pageant, but I've watched a lot of tennis players. You guys know I love tennis. Tennis players being interviewed. And those tennis players at the highest of the highest, so you know they know they're the best in the world. And particularly with the men, you'll see they don't lean forwards when they're being interviewed. They lean back in the couch, right? Why? Is it because they're arrogant? No, it's because they know they're in control. They have confidence. So guess what? If you did the same thing, because we're all human beings at the end, we have the same basic physiology, the same biology. You do the same thing, you're going to get the same result. So you'll begin to feel the same way they feel, right? And if you want to find an example that's more appropriate to, let's say, interview, then the easiest way to do that would be to watch a woman, a female role model you idolize, who is super confident, and look at the way they sit on the couch when they're being interviewed. Let's say on a talk show. You might not be able to get the footage of them in a pageant interview, I get that. But, there's lots of talk shows where there's a lot of super confident women, and look at how they sit. Look at the way they use their hands. Look at where their head is. Are they making eye contact all the time, or are they looking down, right? How quickly are they speaking? Where is their breath? Are their legs crossed over or not? And I get, for modesty reasons, very often you want to have your legs crossed over. Obviously that's a thing that us men don't have to worry about. So be mindful of that. But, I doubt very much their arms are crossed, right? Normally, they're actually doing the same thing that a man would do, is taking up space on the couch and owning their presence. So this is all I need you to do is, I need you to remember, number one, I need you to remember that you don't confidence doesn't happen to you. You do confidence. Whenever you want confidence, you have the option to do it. No matter how bad you were feeling a moment before, if you use your physiology to create the confidence, you're immediately going to feel a massive shift in your life. If there is other things going on in your life, I understand long term it can bring you back down. But in that moment when you need confidence, because if we're talking about an interview, you need to be confident for 5 minutes. And if you do that power posture, you go for an intense run, if if you need to be confident before you're performing on stage for a dance or something, there's a reason that we want to break a sweat and warm up, right? So if you just need confidence for that 1, 2, 3 minutes for the interview, then do a power pose, right? Condition your nervous system. Get out of this delusion that we all have, is that, it's before an interview, of course you're going to feel nervous. No, you're not. I don't get nervous before an interview. Demi didn't get nervous when she was on stage. Right? On the other hand, if you flipped us, I would be very nervous on stage because I have no idea what I'm doing. And Demi was more nervous in the interview setting, or sort of everyday, let's say, setting. So different people get set off by different things. But my point is, remember, you do confidence. It doesn't just happen to you. So number one, you are in charge of how you feel. Number two, to take charge of that, you use what we call the triad. So physiology, focus, language. And all I want you to do at the moment, and this will be more than enough, is your physiology, right? If you're feeling bad, you're feeling crappy, make a radical change in your physiology. Radical meaning make it a big one, not a small one. Like if you're going, and again, if you're not listening, if you're not watching this, I've got my arms crossed over being depressed. Like, if you're feeling not so great, and Adrian goes, make a change in your physiology. And you go, okay, I'll straighten up to here. Yeah, it didn't work. Well, you haven't made a radical change in your physiology, so you're not going to have a massive change in the way you feel. If you're sitting down, stand up, right? If you've been hunched over at your desk, go for a run, go for an intense sprint, break a sweat. So that's how you're going to take charge of, how you feel, and whether it's you want confidence, whether it's you want to be unstoppable, powerful, whatever label it is for you, that's how you go and get it. And if you make a radical enough change in your physiology, what will happen with the patterns of focus and language, those two things will kick in automatically. Does that make sense? Right, so if you do that power pose and you're pretending you're Wonder Woman, right, and you've been doing it for 2 minutes, and I say, what's your focus on? I don't think your focus is going to say, how I'm going to fail. No, your focus is like, how I'm going to rock it, right? And your language will be like, I'm unstoppable. You're not going to do a pose as Wonder Woman for 2 minutes and then go, Well, as soon as you do it, you can tell. When I did that, I had to lose my physiology. This is how interlinked the two are. I can't pretend to be nervous when I have a physiology of confidence. The two don't go together. And if you don't believe me, try sounding go into your bathroom, your bedroom, where no one can see you. Get in front of a mirror or your mobile phone. Make sure it's not broadcasting live, or you can if you want to. Put on the most confident, super confident, superhuman, superhero pose you can. And then when you're doing it, try and say something in a really nervous way and say and like, and you know a lot, and it just doesn't work. Because when you're standing like a boss, you act like a boss. When you do the emotions and state of being in charge of your life and being unstoppable, you tend to act in an unstoppable way. So I began this episode by saying, I can't make you confident. And I can't give you confidence. And I 100% believe that. You are the only one who can give yourself the gift of confidence. But it is not something that you need to go to a therapist and analyze on a couch for 10,000 years going, oh, you don't understand. This happened to me in my childhood and that's why I just don't feel confident. And you know what? I have full sympathy for that. As someone who's been majorly depressed and been suicidal on 2 occasions, I get that you have hurt. I get that you have a story. And when I say a story, I don't mean it's untrue. I mean you have a story as to how you got here. But you need to choose whether you're going to carry that story with you for the rest of your life, like emotional baggage, or you're just going to get that emotional baggage and you go, thank you, you've served a purpose, I've learned from you, I'm just going to put you down, and now I'm going to go live my best life. It's like I say, don't divorce your partner, divorce your story, right? So if you're trying to live into this new confident life, whilst you're trying to drag your story as to how you were a victim of bullying or how you're this, how you're that, and I get it, it's all true. That's not why I'm saying it's a story, remember. I'm just saying that's the story you've been telling yourself. You can't run the 100-meter dash whilst carrying a cannonball of emotional baggage. I mean, you can, but you're not going to win, and it's going to be a lot more effortful than it needs to be. It's not going to be enjoyable. So as much as I say, in this moment, change your physiology and you're going to feel confident, if long-term you have this image of yourself, this identity as whatever it is, a victim, or you're depressed, or you're XYZ, then you're going to keep finding that you can get confident in the moment, but you keep coming back kind of to the kryptonite Clark Kent that you were before. But that is a discussion for another day. And that, frankly, I mean, when my mentor took me through that exercise, we spent an entire day in it, and you just see the examples of people who, in the moment could get super amped up and super confident, which is what you want when you're interviewing. But you could just tell when they go back into their daily lives, they were getting back to their old self because of the beliefs they had about themselves. Limiting beliefs, limiting identities, that whole shebang. But I'm going to keep this short, keep it there, because I want you to now go and do this. And you can start this by noticing. Go and look at the next person who walks past you and just look at their physiology and see if you can't tell what sort of state they're in. Right? You look at that person and go, oh, that person's looking a little bit tired, or looking a bit distracted. That person over there, she looks like she's excited for the weekend, right? That person there is obviously not even paying attention to work. They're on Tinder or something, I don't even know. And, my boss over there, man, he's looking stressed out of his brain. And as you begin to notice this and get good at this, you'll also then simultaneously begin to get better at doing it for yourself. Okay? So if you want to feel confident, do confidence. Don't wait for it to happen to you. Don't think you need to make $1 million or win the biggest pageant in the world and then you'll feel confident, because I guarantee you that doesn't work. 100%. The people I work with have the biggest titles in the world. The title doesn't help. The title actually makes it worse, because if they weren't confident before, they win the title, they go, oh my God, I'm going to get found out. And the imposter syndrome becomes crippling. And do you know how many miserable rich people there are? And there's nothing worse than a miserable rich person, is there? So the outside success is not needed for you to feel confident. In fact, if you're waiting for the outside success because you have this delusion it's going to make you confident, you are setting yourself up for the biggest fall you can imagine. So do yourself a favor, do me a favor, start doing this. Take charge of your physiology, stop slouching, start standing, right? Go for a walk, go for a run, start breathing deep into your diaphragm. Who cares if your belly comes out when you're doing it, right? It's much better than doing the panicked breathing like high up in your chest. Okay, take charge of your physiology, and then you'll notice that the focus and language come along for the ride. And as you feel better, you will do better. If you have any questions about this, let me know. I'm more than happy to walk you through a little bit more of it. In the meantime, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, go search for The Pageant Boss on Facebook. It is facebook.com/groups/The Pageant Boss, and I'll speak to you in the next episode. Hey, it's Adrian again. Thanks for listening to this episode. Just a quick reminder to come and join our private Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/The Pageant Boss. You're going to be getting early access, special offers and discounts to all our upcoming products, courses, and events. So make sure you head there now. It's free to join for the moment at facebook.com/groups/The Pageant Boss. And remember, the link to join is in the show notes to this episode. So click that link, join our group, and I'll speak to you in the next episode of the Pageant Boss podcast.